Welcome to Unknown for the Most Likely. Today we have a special guest, and he's a local, uh, well-known person, and big music goer. He goes by Adrian Parsons. He's in such bands as Abuse. You can, if you are around Saskatoon or you have been into a punk show, a grind show, and all that stuff, and you like horror films and stuff like that, this is the guy. Yeah. So, without further ado,
There we go.
oh my
There
God.
we go. Ah,
I've always had these
like this.
problems when I do these podcasts. I had a problem with my friend from Seattle, and yeah, we had this problem with that. So yeah, it's we got this going now. How's it going today?
Good. I don't know where the camera is on this thing, so I'm trying to orient it based on the screen, I guess.
Yeah, so yeah, the fucking Halloween just passed and stuff. I always usually see you post like some great like movies and stuff like that. So like to start off, what do you think is the best thing for what that was the best thing for Halloween to watch this year?
I think my favorite new movie this year would have been When Evil Lurks.
Oh
Um,
my God.
yeah, it's made by that same Argentinian guy that did Terrified.
Oh, oh shit.
Yeah, it's super gnarly. They did like a really neat twist on the possession kind of storyline.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like,
I just watched it actually. I just kind of it made me shook because like I guess some people are kind of like offended by certain things. So like when a kid dies, that was
oh
just
yeah.
too much for me. I was like shit.
Yeah,
But yeah, no spoilers for too many people here. But yeah,
yeah, it goes pretty hard. I was blown away. It went like full Lucille Fulci on the gore, so that was
yeah,
cool.
absolutely, absolutely. It was fucking good old Lucio Fulci. So where did when did you start getting to know the scene? Like when did you start being introduced to music and
Oh,
such?
so okay, so like I grew up in Martinsville, and there's like no music scene in Martinsville, obviously.
Hmm.
Um, I moved to Saskatoon kind of in my early 20s,
Hmm.
and that was about right when I started going to gigs. That was about when bands like Poser Disposer, Twisted System, Cashed, Exoskeleton, all those guys were just
Hmm.
kind of playing lots and lots of shows. And this was back when Walker's was still around, which was a basement venue on Third Avenue.
Oh
And then
yeah.
there was another venue called The Basement, which used to be the Jazz Basement. I guess it's the Jazz Basement again or
Yeah.
something. But that for a while there, that was tons and tons of grind shows there. So it's all like Poser Disposer and stuff, but bigger stuff too. Like I saw Cephalic Carnage there and some other cool stuff like that. So yeah, it was probably in my early 20s, whenever that Poser Disposer stuff was coming out. So it was that early 2000s,
Yeah.
somewhere in there. Prior to that, I mean, in Martinsville, your only connection to like knowledge about heavy metal, because you got to keep in mind this is
Yeah.
like pre-internet, kind
Yeah.
of, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm old, so I was like Metal Edge magazine and Hit Parader and shit like that, and whatever you could
Yeah.
find in the corner store, right? And the kids got it easy now. I mean, I'm 14 and Mayhem's like mainstream. I'm like, okay.
That must be weird for like a lot. I mean, just being like a Mayhem fan in the beginning.
Yeah, like it's cool. I'd love it. Like you can find anything now, and so like people can get into really legit cool stuff like quickly. So you
Yeah.
don't have to worry about going through and listening to like tons of mainstream stuff because you just don't really know anything otherwise. So I think it's actually awesome.
Yeah. Was there any time like you were basically kind of starting to say no to like this music, just because it was doing something like
Uh,
you didn't agree with?
no, I mean like I'm one of those guys, like I grew up through the grunge thing, right? When that was huge, and I still like a lot of that stuff. And I grew up through the
Hmm.
new metal thing, and I still like a lot of that stuff. I'm not really one of those like trend hopper kind of. I don't like this anymore because it's not cool or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, to me, I still think Korn is awesome. I think they do cool stuff. Even their modern stuff is pretty cool. So I mean, obviously, there's tons of
Yeah.
shit that comes out in every wave, right? The million copycat bands, but other
Yeah,
than
there's so
that,
many of
no.
them.
I kind of keep listening to everything, even though I kind of more now these days. Obviously, I'm not listening to a ton of grunge and new metal, but it's still in my CD collection. So
I really like what you like have to post. You always have something like always mix something up in the metal or in a genre, and it doesn't even sound like it's like ever like thought of ever. What is the most weirdest like genre you heard through like a band that no one else heard of?
Oh, I don't know. Some of that like avant-garde stuff. I mean, you start getting into like, the noise stuff, that Bone Crate's obviously in the noise world.
Hmm.
So you're probably more familiar than most, but you start listening to Harsh Noise Wall or like even some of those Mike Patton projects where he has like an a cappella band that's all like a noisecore band that's just his voice.
I
Shit like
actually never
that.
heard about it.
Like Tomahawk and like
Oh yeah,
weird bands like that. Or getting into like some of that psychedelic stuff. I mean, I'm terrible at dropping names unless I have like a list in front of me. But
yeah.
yeah, I pretty much listen to whatever. I mean, like there's a band. It's like a noise rock band. They're called Gay Witch Abortion. Shit like that. Just like that. Everybody else would look at it and be like, "What the fuck is this shit?" But I'm like, "Well, kind of like Butthole Surfers, so be pretty cool."
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, everything all around that is,
Fuck.
I'm glad to see Saskatoon kind of growing with that kind of that sound, different sounds and stuff. You just were at Morgue Breath the other
Yeah.
night. How did that go? And
Oh, it was
tell us about
awesome.
Morgue Breath. Like,
So
explain.
So Mort Breath is a Goregrind band from LA. I actually
Yeah.
just found out that the singer of that band, or one of the two singers, he's actually the drummer from this other band that I really like called the Men's Toilet. And yes, I'm admitting to liking a band called the Men's Toilet. It's all like Goregrind stuff, right?
Yeah.
And Matt Dantuzzi said that the drummer had reached out to him, Isaac, and
Hmm.
Isaac's originally from Edmonton, but now he lives in LA too, I think, and he's in a ton of bands like Sulfuric Cautery, Morgue Breath, and I've seen him play with Hyperemesis, a couple other different stuff. Usually like really blast beaty gore grind stuff. And Matt mentioned that Morgue Breath wanted to come down here on a Canadian tour, and pretty much begged him like, book it, please book it, because I really wanted to play it with my band, so we got on the bill, which was cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, it was great. We had a pretty good turnout. Sorry, I'm sucking at filming here. I'm trying to find the right angle.
That's okay. That's okay.
um, yeah, so it was a sick lineup. We had Exang, and they had their new tapes and shit out, ready to go for that show, which was killer. And then Abuse played, and Pizza Coffin, which is what's
Yeah.
his
Pizza
name,
Cafe.
Crothers, his new band. It's like power violence shit. It's pretty cool. And we managed to get the projector working this time. Like we'd done another show there for what was that? Toad from Toronto
Hmm.
came in the summer, but we couldn't get the projector working for that show. So this one we figured it out. So we had this nonstop like gore scenes playing in the background the whole show,
Oh, that's
which
dope.
was
That's dope.
cool. Yeah, I had them made up from when I used to do all the Halloween parties and shit in years
Hmm.
past. So it's like 6 hours of nonstop like movie gore. So yeah, it was really cool. It had a good like vibe to it for the Halloween season and good turnout. People went hard for every band, which was really sick. So I was stoked on it.
It's good to see Paved Arts getting like lot more shows when before like COVID was just basically keeping everybody inside for like a long time and stuff.
Well,
But you guys did at the show. I feel like not a lot of people like to copy
it's
that. They like to do their own thing.
it's kind of a bummer because Paved Arts doesn't want to be known as like a gigging venue. They're primarily a private art gallery and a membership center for artists, not
Yeah.
a gigging venue. So I think they said we could do shows with about a 4 month spread in between at the most.
Okay.
And like it's great because it's all ages, right? And there's really
Yeah.
not any all ages venues in Saskatoon.
Absolutely. That
I
sucks.
mean, maybe Louis, I guess, is technically can do all ages shows, but I don't even want to know what it costs to rent Louis to do a show,
Oh.
right?
Oh
And like
God.
with the type of music we're doing shows for, like it would look pitiful in a space that big, right? So, if you're gonna do Louis, like you got to have kind of a bigger touring act to kind of put into there, sort of thing. But
Yeah.
Paved Arts is great. I mean, we could technically do liquor and stuff there. We don't bother with it because it's just a giant pain in the ass. And
Yeah.
why would I front to buy all the liquor and pay the license so people are going to drink beer in their car anyway? So like, screw it.
Yeah.
And it's honestly it's way better. Like there's way less drunken bullshit, and everyone just drinks water while they're in there, and it's way more chill. And I prefer it honestly, and it's great when you don't have people being like lots of drinking around underage people is usually not a good thing. So
Hmm.
it's great for that. And like I've seen kids I've never seen at shows before. So like we've been going to shows at Black Cat, religiously for years now. But because it's 19 plus, you're seeing the same 20
Yeah.
guys at every show, right? And so doing these all ages ones, it's like, wow, we're finally seeing like some new people. So now once they age in, they'll actually kind of know people in the scene, and they'll have a better idea of what shows to go to and stuff, instead of
Hmm.
just kind of having no idea because they've never been exposed to any of it. So I think it's really awesome. I mean, we tried to book Black Cat because I mean it's easier because we get a sound guy and a door guy and all that kind of shit, but we couldn't make it work. But the paved arts has been working out good for us, so like I'm stoked to keep doing that sort of thing. It's just tough to find, like, other venues are really expensive to rent, so it's kind of like, I mean, for an underground grindcore show, are we really wanting to put up like $400 to $800 up front? Probably not. So, but we'll make it work.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I mean, yeah, I've just I think I played a couple of shows there. And actually, no, actually, I played a show there, and I was doing door. It was, I think it was like the punk rock harm reduction show. And it was just really cool to see fucking like people back in, like, when I was in high school going to punk shows, because back then in high school you had like people who just watched much music, listened to C95 and all this shit. And
Yeah,
it's just it makes, I mean, it's a little bit more brighter to see that, people from that age are going to shows
yeah,
now
it's
days.
killer. I love it. I love seeing young people at shows. Actually, these two young guys, I'd never seen them at a show before until that Morgbest show. They went like ape shit the whole show.
Right
So
on.
at the beginning of the gig, he kind of came to the merch table, and I had these prints of the album art that I did up, and then on the back was a Bandcamp code because we don't
Yeah.
have like a CD or a tape yet for that. And he was like, "Oh, what are these? Are they free?" And I'm like, "Well, no. I mean, they're fine art prints, and it comes with a code, so they're like $20." And he couldn't afford it. But then at the end of the show, I was like, "Man, you guys went like hard, so just have one," kind of thing. And they were stoked on that. So, like I feel like that's the type of thing that's going to keep people like interested and wanting to come back. So no, I'm into it. And Matt D'Antuzzi did postering around at like high schools and shit, and places where you wouldn't normally poster, right? Like usually you just do the downtown and Broadway, but we intentionally tried to put posters in places that younger people would see them, so
Hmm.
it paid off, I think. So I mean, we even had two babies at that show. There were two babies in like those stroller things. They had big
Rock
earmuffs on, but
on!
like, yeah,
That's
babies
cool.
first grindcore show.
That is so cool. Raise them, raise them right.
Yeah,
That's all I gotta say.
yeah.
Um, you've been in a couple bands. Like, is Abuse your only band you've been in, or
No.
is there bands you've been in the past?
So initially, there was a band that came about. It was Quentin Anderson and Cody Furturco, and they're out of PA, and they're just two-piece instrumental band. And
Mm-hmm.
then Quentin actually is responsible for getting me into music. He's like, "No, we got to get Adrian in our band." And I'm like, is it my vast experience fronting bands, or is it me being near middle age that was what won me over, kind of thing? But they were intent on having me in the band, so we did that band. The band was called Coke Stomper, which was a cool band, but like the name kind of got caused us a lot of problems for obvious reasons. I mean, we even had promoters going like, "We can't put your name on the poster because we think it's going to give us ungood, like bad attention from police and shit
Was
like
there
that."
other names too? Like, I feel like there was. I feel like we had this kind of talk, and there was a bunch
Oh,
of other names.
sure, sure. I mean, like you can, fuck attack and like just horrible names like that. But you put a drug like a hard drug in your band name, it's like
Yeah.
it just comes with a negative connotation to it. So we'd always intended on changing that band name to Abuse, but then Quentin passed away a
Oh,
couple years back. So
my
that kind of
condolences.
obviously killed that in its tracks. But then recently, Cody came back and he started jamming again with Scott, who's from Chronobot. And they said, "Well, let's reform and call it Abuse." So then that's basically what we've been doing now, which is kind of, I guess you call it Coke Stomper Part Two. It's similar kind of style, like that mix of like the sludge and grind and black metal all kind of in a
Awesome.
mixing pot. So yeah, so I'm stoked on it. And this time, all the lyrics are mine because I wrote them from the get go. The Coke Stopper, half the songs were Quentin's and half of them were mine. So
Um, Coke Stomper. I think there's a freaking band that's gonna is on a wrestling compilation coming up called Coke Nail.
oh, nice.
And so it was just like I'm like, oh my God, the names with Coke in it.
Yeah. Oh, and then there's good old Crackhouse.
Crackhouse.
Yeah, I got that CD from a dude at Maryland Death Fest. He just saw me and he saw I had a shitfucker patch on my pants, so he just gave me a CD because he's like, "I love shitfucker. Here, have a CD." It's this CD called Crackhouse, and I think the dude's
Oh man.
like an extreme wrestler or something. I've seen him in other shit too. He's all tatted up and he's missing a bunch of his teeth and shit.
Oh
I
my
can't.
God, Schlak.
Probably him, yeah.
Yeah, no,
And
for
so
real.
he tossed me that disc, and that thing's ridiculous. Like,
I might have to listen to this
yeah,
actually
it's
after this podcast,
good
but
stuff. Let's see if I can find it on my shelf here. I'll show you what it looks like. Let's see. CR Crackhouse. There we go. So I don't know how this is going to work for filming, but I'll just try and hold it up here. It looks like
wow.
this. I don't know how well it's
Wow.
showing. Do I have it upside down? There we go. Crackhouse.
Oh my. I
Yeah,
think
so it looks like that.
he openly still smokes meth. I feel that's the only
Yeah,
thing. Or
the album's called
rock.
"The Hits Just Keep On Coming."
I had a guest on earlier this month who was talking about also Maryland Death Fest, and he's in such bands as Ixis, Blooded Subhumans, and was in a band called Bruised Ego. Um, what is your experience at Maryland Death
Oh,
Fest like?
it was awesome. So awesome. Like the lineups they put on, I think are untouchable. And frankly, like, and walking, everyone's all about walking. I'm like, I mean, I'm sure the party's amazing. Like, don't get me wrong. Still,
Yeah.
like, I would totally go. But having to buy your tickets a year in advance before you even know who's playing, and then half of it's a bunch of like bad power metal shit, like, nah. You know what I mean? I'm looking at Maryland Death Fest and
Yeah.
it's got like 20 all-time classic death grind bands. Like,
Yeah.
fuck me. Plus then like Goblin and shit like that on the bill. Like, what? So no, I had a blast. I went 2 years. I went 1 year with a buddy, and then the next year I went with Shannon, who's my current lady. Well,
Shouts
we're
out to
basically
Shannon.
married at this
Hello.
point. Shout outs to Shannon. And the Shannon trip was a blast. We had such a fun time. The only problem with Maryland Death Fest is it's so fucking expensive, like to fly and then to stay in the hotel and all that shit. So, like, if you're gonna plan that trip, you got to be realistic. It's like your flights for two people return are gonna be somewhere in the $2,000 neighborhood, probably more now. And then your hotel, all the hotels near the festival, they crank it up to about $300 a night. So 5 days, so, that adds up $1,500.
Wow, that's
And
insane.
then, you're going to go there and see that merch area and be like, kid in a candy store, like so much merch. And like, yeah, bring like at least a couple grand even. Cause like, it's awesome. Like we went ape shit. Like it was one of those like no regrets kind of thing.
Oh
Got a
yeah.
ton of stuff. It was really cool because Hell's Headbangers let you order stuff and then pick it up at the festival, so you didn't have
Hmm.
to pay shipping, which was sick. So I ordered like $500 worth of records off them and then just picked it
Hell
up
yeah.
there. And yeah, it was amazing. Performances were nuts. The only thing that sucks about it is well, I don't know if it is again because they've changed it a few times now, but it's like three venues or was when I went. So the main venue is like a parking lot, which during the day, like you're frying like a fucking egg out there. There's only one spot with shade and it's under an overpass.
Yeah.
Put all the picnic tables there, but you can never get a seat there because it's always full. And then they have two other clubs that are nearby, about 5-10 minute walk from the main venue. One of
Okay.
them Soundstage, and that's where all the grindcore and hardcore stuff is. And then the other one is Ram's Head, and they put on all like the death metal, doom metal, black metal
Yeah.
stuff. But they'll put two bands on that you both want to see, and they'll be at the same time, kind of thing. So you got to kind of pick and choose which bands you go to see because it's
Oh,
a
that's
big
sad.
lineup, right? And so the year that Shannon and I went, all the headliners were all conflict bands. Like we wanted to see both.
Yeah.
So the only thing that saved us is the Rams head gigs are they run a half an hour later than the Soundstage ones.
Yeah.
So we worked it so we could watch 45 minutes of the first show at Soundstage and then run as fast as we could over to Rams Head and watch the last 45 minutes of the second bands, kind of get them both in. But I mean, yeah, like I'm a dork, so like I had a fucking spreadsheet itinerary with all the band times and lineups, and so we knew exactly where we had to be at any given time. So people just love that shit when they'd see me with my spreadsheet. Well, hey, we got to get to soundstage now. There's fucking your cop stays going on. We can't miss them. So
What
yeah, no.
is the rarest band you've gotten to see at Maryland?
I don't know. I'd say maybe possibly Melt Banana. That was pretty wild, and I was really surprised when they came here afterwards. That blew me away. Um, I got to
Yeah,
see
I heard about
Portal,
that.
which was really
Oh,
cool.
damn.
Devourment, they played the full whole Molesting the Decapitated, like front to back. That was really sick.
Hell yeah.
Infest. I think we one night we got it was a back to back. It was Hemorrhage, General Surgery, and one other gore band, all back to back. That was pretty sick. I don't know, like
Yeah.
just crazy, crazy lineups. A couple bucket list ones, like I got to see an All Thrak the one year I went, which I was really
Hell yeah,
stoked
that's
on.
cool.
Impaled Nazarene.
Oh, nice.
Demoncy was wild. I never thought I'd get to see that band, so that was pretty sick. I don't know. I could just keep going on and on.
Wow. Well, for all the years like you've been to a lot of shows and stuff like that. What were the Vangelis days like, and when was your first Vangelis show?
Oh shit. Well, the Vangelis itself, once they, because initially there was like no shows there, like it was just a bar and restaurant, right? It was like where
Yeah.
you go to get semi decent pizza and lasagna kind of thing. Um, then they started doing gigs. I can't actually remember what the first metal gig was there. I can remember some of the gigs I saw when it was still Vangelis. Like I saw Witches Mountain there was one of the bigger ones when it was still Vangelis. Um, Probably a bunch of local stuff, like Lava Goat and stuff like that.
Okay.
Um, yeah, no, it's too many years ago.
Too
I
many
can't
years.
remember what the first one was.
That's okay. That's okay. Um, yeah, no, I just if anybody is out in Saskatoon and he's out at a show, literally go say hi to this guy and
Yeah.
just like have a nice conversation, talk about anything. Cause yeah, no, honestly, I'd see this guy. I'd see you at almost every metal or punk show and stuff, and it's just like it's good to see people like in like the same community coming together again. Cause like the hardcore scene was so I feel like it was like a popularity contest in the early days and such like now it's different, completely
Yeah,
different.
I'm loving that there's better unity between the metal stuff and the hardcore stuff. Like they were repping our shows and we've been repping their shows. And I'm gonna give a shout out, and I think one of the biggest components of that is the Attack with Force guys, which is the guys
Hell
from
yeah.
like Krash and Repair and shit. Because I mean,
Mhm.
they were obviously their Goat Hammer and Hex and Sabbath before that, and
Mhm.
they're trying to put out as much hardcore stuff as they can. Like they put out the Exang tape and stuff, and then you got like the guys that are from like Reject and like Step Kid Productions and Tooth and Nail and a bunch of those
Yeah.
guys, all those hardcore
Yeah.
shows, and
Yeah, definitely. I
Beefy
would love to give it
Productions. Like I
beefy.
love
Hell
that.
yeah.
Yeah, like fucking killer shows, and everybody's working together at them and like showing up at each other's shows. Even like I think like if it isn't necessarily your number one style, people just want to go to kind of see some new stuff. And I think there's a bigger thirst for it than there was for a lot of years because of all that COVID shit. Because people were so bored for so long. And I also think it helps that like so many new bands have like popped up since the COVID shit. Like
Mhm.
not necessarily new people, like it's a lot of it's the same guys, but it's like kind of feels a little fresher, it's like new bands, renewed enthusiasm kind of in the scene. So
Mhm.
like I think it's been awesome, like since COVID and since stuff opened back up again.
Yeah. I've been hearing a lot of stuff coming out from Attack with
Yeah,
Force. It's really
totally, like buy all their shit, it's all good. They got like good
absolutely.
taste, so fucking
I'm gonna have to do that one of these days. Yeah.
I have
It was a
filming here.
yeah. It was a big pleasure playing with Krash this year. We played our first show with them
Yeah,
and
I
stuff. So
heard
like
that was a good show.
so after that experience and going to a Krash house show, it was a big difference maker in my opinion. It was like the future kind of looks a little more like more, I think noise might have a little a door open in here, like in the city or in like at least Saskatchewan. I'm just like hoping to try to wake it up, but because it's like so unknown and it's like so like I don't know. It's just very dark, staticky noise and stuff like that. But you see things and there's like messages through it, kind of stuff. So that's why I
Yeah.
like. That's why I think Vanguard and harsh noise is really good, and I think it would be a good thing in this in Saskatchewan.
Well, I know Brett from Edmonton. He's in like currently he's in autolysis, and he was from like uh a ton of amazing Edmonton bands that I'm gapping out on right now because I'm an idiot. But he had a noise thing that he did here at a Black Cat show. I can't recall the name of the band, but if I find it, I'll send it to you later. But that was really cool. And then you got like I saw Merzbow at Black Cat,
Oh
so
shit!
I
Yeah, I
couldn't
wanted to
believe
go.
that. That was a funny show because me and my brother at the end we kind of ran up to the front of the stage to say like how awesome it was, and he was scared of us. And then his sort of like tour handler or whatever came up and was like, he doesn't speak English and he doesn't want people coming too close to him and all this stuff. We're like, oh, we're so sorry, because he's this tiny little dude, and then me and my brother, these two like giants, running at him with big shit-eating grins on our face. Probably just didn't know what to think. So, but that was really cool. So I think like there's obviously there's a thirst for it. Like that show is pretty decently attended. So I think it's there's a place for it, and I think it totally fits in with like extreme music. Like you could put it on a bill with the death metal or grindcore or
Hmm.
hardcore even.
Yeah, more nowadays like than last back then. You'd probably be put to the back or something.
Well, yeah, and like it depends on who's promoting it, right? Like some of the more
Yeah,
old school metal guys obviously are going to be like, well, what the fuck is this shit? Because it's not riffs, right? But I think aesthetically, I think it fits in. Anything dark, anything extreme to me, I think like can mash together. That's my take on it.
yes, that's completely true. I've seen a lot of good like different type of stories, like any bands or artists like do for either harsh noise or grindcore. It's really cool, like different type of storytelling, different types of ideas and stuff. Um, uh, but Merzbow is just a sound collage and just fucking amazing, like improvised like noise. Like I think I remember listening to Merzbow and from hearing it through Dinosaur Dragonfly, my buddy Colton, and yeah, no, I think from there like, harsh noise got really in my head.
Hmm. It's kind of cool because it's tied also kind of in a way to ambient.
Hmm.
It's like reverse ambient, but it has the same effect where you get kind of in a trance and then you start to hear patterns and things that in that wall of sound. Your
Yeah.
mind kind of, like you say, kind of goes on a bit of a journey through it. So that like I get that. That's how I feel about it too.
So before we do end this episode, I'll ask one more question, but I'm going to give a couple shout outs for some people.
Oh sure.
So I'm going to give a shout out to Matt Danhausen. I want to give a shout out to Attack with Force. I want to give a shout out to pretty much everybody who's been going to shows. There's also these little merch kind of gatherings at Black Cat. When do they happen again?
Emily usually does those once a year. She does her merch swap.
Yeah. So if anybody is around Saskatoon and wants to go check out and find some merch or want to get something or just wants to see some music or hang out with some buddies, go to Black Cat. Yeah, I'll definitely post for when it happens next. I'll definitely have to come out
Yeah,
one of these days.
and keep an eye. Like Facebook is a big promoter for most of the shows in this city. We recently met like a guy who just moved to town. His name's Tyler. He's kind of coming from like the Toronto and the Maritimes, and so he's not used to seeing as much Facebook as what's used in this city. But pretty much, if you want to find out about shows in Saskatoon, you
Hmm.
got to be on Facebook. As much as that might suck for some people, it is definitely the place. But we're trying to get out into different like platforms like Instagram, and I've heard like people are even using TikTok and shit. Some of these new guys. So whatever reaches people's eyeballs and ear holes, I'm good with. So, but I will say that like anybody that is interested in wanting to keep up on shit, Facebook's the easiest way to do that. Once you like a few venues and friend a few people in the scene, you're gonna hear about shows pretty much. So
Excellent, excellent, awesome. I'm excited for the future here in Saskatchewan.
heck yeah,
So yeah, so the question I really wanted to ask is, have
yeah.
you ever witnessed going to a show and meeting someone that was you're really a big fan of them and stuff, and then they ended up being an asshole?
Oh yeah, for sure. Glenn Benton from DSI, that he was a massive prick.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, I've heard not good things about him too. Like things, racist shit that he said to people. It's just he's kind of a garbage human, actually. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna stop listening to DSI because like I'm not one of those like if I don't agree with this person, I could never look at anything they ever made again, kind of thing. Like that's not my
Yeah.
style. Otherwise, like stop listening to music basically made before 19 fucking 90 because everyone sucked. Just an FYI.
I
But
still listen to DRI. Like, there's
you
a
know,
lot
even
of
those guys, they got called out and canceled. I saw on one thing, so it's like it doesn't matter. Like somebody somewhere on the corner of the internet's gonna find something shitty to say about somebody.
yeah.
But yeah, no, Glenn Benton was a prick. We tried to go backstage and he's just immediately like, you get the fuck out of here, and he was just a big jerk. And then Jack Owen was playing with him from Cannibal Corpse. He ended up being like super chill and nice, so that kind of made up for it. Other
There's
than
always
that, all my experiences like celebrity wise have been good. Um, I've run into a lot of them. I mean, what you tend to find is that they're just dudes. If you just approach them like they're just people and not fangirl out too hard,
yeah.
which I've done on a few occasions, um, then they're totally chill for the most part. Like, I mean, even big scary looking dudes. Like I talked to the guy from Primitive Man, and he's one of the nicest people you'll ever
Oh
talk
yeah,
to.
Ethan.
Yeah, and he's
Yeah,
like
he's cool.
the most soft-spoken, like gentle giant. I think he
Mhm.
teaches like kindergarten or some shit. Is his real job? Like,
Yeah.
not what you'd expect after listening to Primitive Man, right? So,
Yeah.
like, and then there's always going to be some of those dudes that are kind of more the tough guy image, but almost everyone that I've ended up actually talking to, ended up being pretty cool. Witch Vomit was kind of stuck their noses up at us when we tried to talk to them initially when we went to Covenant one year. But then at the
Yeah.
end of the festival, we ended up partying in the parking lot with them till the end of the wee hours of the morning. So, I think sometimes it's like people can get the wrong first impression from either side. So, I mean, you never know. And they ended up being really cool. So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's sometimes always like that way. I found out about the lead singer of Suicide Silence now is actually a total dick.
oh, shit.
Like they came to Saskatoon. My friend was like telling me he went to the show.
Mhm.
He's seeing like how like Eddie was treating fans and shit. It was so like literally a lot of people. Some people left the Suicide Silence show. They were mostly there for like Chelsea Grin. It's just like, well, it's like bands like that. Like that really stopped me from like listening to that whole thing, and I wanted just to listen more than Cannibal Corpse and shit. So I just I was listening to it back in the past. It was just going to be for the preppy people. It just that's what it felt like it was.
Mm.
But it's just labels, I guess, when what they're on and stuff like that, and I guess the people that are surrounded by that.
True.
I guess
I
that's
mean,
how
like,
to
and
change
also,
them.
like, you're some big celebrity with a bunch of sycophant yes people
Sorry, I
around you
can't hear you.
all the
What?
time. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Okay. Sorry, we got a little bit of distortion here. Um, when you're on a bigger label like that and you got a million yes people around you all the time, you start to kind of become a bit more of a dick, I think, in a lot of cases. You start to believe your own hype, maybe. And I think that's probably hard not to. It's in defense of some of those guys. Like, you're this big touring act, you're playing in stadiums, you have tens of thousands of people screaming for you at all the time, and everyone's telling you how awesome you are all the time. It's going to start to, first of all, wear thin on you, and you're going to get short with people. And second of all, you're going to kind of drink your own Kool-Aid. And so I'm always happy when I meet bands that aren't like that, even though they've been around for a long time. So,
you. Yeah, it's always cool to have someone you look up to that actually kind of, you know, kind of gives a shit about you and has some kind of part in your life.
For sure.
Well, yeah, thank you for coming on to the show, man. Honestly, it's been a brilliant
Sorry
time.
about earlier with my old man flip phone. Oh, I don't have it on me, so I can show
Yeah.
you. But yeah, it's a flip phone. I don't have I'm using.
Anybody else have flip phones out there?
Yeah, flip phone.
Yeah, let's start it up. I hope you have a good day, and hope you guys see you in that guy's next episode. The next episode we'll be having Sean from Waves Crashing Piano Chords.
Cool.
Excited for this one. Whoop whoop.
All right, cool, man. Well, thank you for having me on here. Like I'm into doing this sort of stuff. So
yeah, appreciate it, and have a good evening.
Yeah, for sure. You too.